Welcome, everybody. It is Monday. It's 5 p.m. Pacific time. So guess what that means? It is the hashtag TFR Motivation Monday call. We are super, super excited. But guess what? We're excited for multiple reasons, not only because of the content you got last week, which is going to compound from the content you got this week, but because sometimes technology doesn't work, because right now we're not on Facebook. We're just on Zoom. But guess what? Do not fear. Do not fret, because we record this every week and we upload it to the Team Freedom Reigns YouTube channel and the Team Freedom Reigns SoundCloud channel for just such an emergency. So don't worry about it. We got you covered. But welcome to the hashtag TFR Motivation Monday Team Training Zoom call.
Awesome. Make sure you go and
so
subscribe.
Excited you're here. Yes.
Go
So subscribe to the YouTube channel and SoundCloud so that you don't get left out when Mark Zuckerberg decides to go on a break in the middle of the work day.
It happens. It's okay. All right, guys. So no breaks here, right? We are in the last few days of the month of July. Can you believe that? 7 months down. Crazy, right? In 2019. So what we want to encourage you to do is close out July super, super strong by doing the following things. You want to make sure that you double check your own personal orders and check the personal orders of the people you've personally enrolled, okay? Yep. Your distributors and your customers, because there are issues with credit cards sometimes and people don't know. And sometimes even people change banks and didn't remember to change their cards that are on their subscription orders. So make sure that you're double checking that, because this is your business. You need to take ownership of it. Also, as you're doing this, make sure that you educate your new customers and new distributors as they come on of the importance of having a subscription order.
Yes.
The reason you build this type of business is for leveraged income. Leveraged income is not on their first order. It comes off of subscription orders. So it's super important for you to make sure that you are encouraging everyone to continue using the products where you know they need to by having subscription orders. Yep. Then also make sure that you double check your own personal volume, that you have the minimum of 100 in PV to get paid the minimal and 200 PV to pay out everything that our compensation plan offers you. Every single month, make sure you've got that. Double check in your striking distance report for rank advancements. I love to go in there and check for the people that are close, and then also drive into their genealogy to see who else that's part of their team might be close to hitting Pro 1, might be close to hitting Pro 2, and sending personal text messages out to every single one of them. Because guess what? By digging deep into your organization and helping people in your organization rank advance, guess what happens for you? You hit that next rank. Yeah, exactly. And then also I like to use the new enrollment report for the month, because the people that are enrolling people are the people that are working their business. And those are the ones that you want to make sure that you are paying the most attention to. So make sure that you use that new enrollment report in your back office. Quick links off on the right-hand side towards the bottom, easy to find. And then to follow up on that, as you're doing all of these follow-ups in July, make sure that the people that it's just not quite their time now, that you are booking that next interaction with them in August. So you're scheduling out the first couple weeks in August from the follow-ups that you're doing in July. So that's how you're going to close that out.
Yeah, one key point on that, as Marcy was doing a research study on somebody, there was somebody that was 2 volume points away from Pro 2. 2 volume points. Look at the difference between the monthly income of an average Pro 1 and an average Pro 2, 2 volume points away. So don't let that kind of stuff slip through the cracks. It would be a bad deal.
But on top of that, though, too, is that you want to make sure that you're being the leader that you wish that you had in your organization if you don't have it, right?
Right.
Make sure that you are being the leader that's aware of your team and where they're at and helping them understand and catching those little blips every once in a while. We don't want people to miss out.
No, we don't. Elite Academy, Long Beach. Oh my gosh. So day before yesterday, what's the date today?
Today's the 29th.
Today's the 29th. So 2 days ago, you missed the $99, but it's $149 until October, where it goes up to $199. You must pre-register, because pre-registering does 2 things. It tells you, most importantly, here's the thing. It tells you, or you're telling yourself, you're committed. You're committed to your success. You're committed to being there, because the people with the biggest businesses never miss these kind of events. It is non-negotiable. And the other thing is you tell your team. You are setting the proper example to pre-register, because think about it. You've already missed out on the $99. Every time you miss a deadline, it costs you more money. And most people who don't go say it's because of money. So there's kind of a contradicting story there. So don't be that person. Just make sure you pre-register, encourage your team to pre-register, and we will see you in Long Beach because there's some pretty cool announcements.
So many cool things coming.
Right?
Huge things happen, including the Super 7 launch, which if you ask, oh, what's Super 7? It's like, all we know is it's a third technology that's going to be part of the Protandim family. Okay, so we already know what the first and second were and how significant they are. Can you imagine being the pioneers of a third technology that is that huge? And I've heard that it's one that you can take and you fill almost immediately.
Right.
So how
I know
cool
what it's
is
not.
that?
It's not Nerf 3.
No, it's
not
not
Nerf 3.
No,
but it is in the
not.
Protandim family, and it's coming in Anaheim. You need to be there to see the unveiling.
Yeah, so they'll also have the announcement of where the location is going to be for 2020 global. You want that so you can put it in your calendar and start planning for it. The sooner you start planning, the easier financially it is for you to attend these events. It's also going to be announcing the location of the 2020 Elite Retreat. And the reason why we're sharing this with everybody and why it's such a big deal is that that's not until November of 2020. If you wanted to, if you were committed enough, and if you were willing to do whatever it took, you could be, a new elite at that 2020 Elite Retreat. So you want to be there to know where it's going to be at. And then I love the next one down there. They're also going to be giving us more information on daily pay. Who doesn't want to do something and get paid for it, right? That's why so many people are attracted to linear income. But we have, you know, that other side of it too. So you'll get daily pay for the linear part, but you're also going to be building that leveraged income. And then that last one.
You know, before you move past the daily pay, can you imagine what that's going to be like when that goes into play? And it's coming January.
Ding,
Everybody
ding,
gets notifications
ding.
on their phone. Imagine being out with friends and ding, oh, they got a text. Ding, the other person got a text. Like, ding, oh, I got paid. Like, what? You mean that wasn't? No, that was a paycheck. Don't you get the ding paychecks every day? Oh, you want to find out how to get them every day? Yeah, we need to talk. So I'm just looking for, that's going to be a massive incentive to people to build their business because there's notifications that come along with it.
Yes.
Cool stuff.
Okay. Now, so this next one is really super duper important, guys,
this is
because
cool.
there's some things that are ending at the end of July and that you won't be able to take advantage of again. And, you know, we are really excited about this very first ever incentive trip that is colliding with an elite academy at the Moon Palace in Cancun. This is the first ever Destination Elite Academy, right? So it is $950 per person, double occupancy per room. And they have payment plans that you get pre-registered by July 31st, you can have 4 payment options. Guys, options is good, especially if you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay for this trip because you know you need to be there. And on top of that, they provided a promotion to go along with it to where you can earn the whole trip and basically go to Cancun
and make money too.
Yeah, and take your family on a vacation and have it be tax deductible and paid for by the company if you take this seriously. So some of the things that are ending this month, July promos, you can get 3 brand new preferred customers in July, and their volume equals 300 in personal volume each or together, or more.
Yeah.
And you're going to earn 100 points towards the Cancun trip. Okay. So 3 new PCs with a cumulative volume of 300 in volume together, okay, equals 100 points towards the trip. And then the other promotion that they've got going on is anybody that got brand new volume in your organization from your own personal enrollments equaling 5,000 in volume, you will get a $250 bonus as well as being able to take a child for free. How cool,
free
right?
is good.
Even if you don't have a child, you can adopt one.
Kids are expensive. You can get them there for free. That's awesome.
Hey, that's awesome. So guys, there's all kinds of ways that you can get points for this. Please make sure that you are up to date on that. LifeVantage.com under company, upcoming events. And it is going to be the Destination Elite Academy. And there's going to be new promos every single month. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. So here we go. Let's get to this because I'm super excited about this. All right. So last week we had the amazing business leader, thought leader, Premier Pro 5, Cynthia Greenewalt, who is an amazing lady, as you know, just tremendously successful, always has been, was involved in many, many network marketing ventures. She was she was second in line, not front line, but the second to Eric Worre in a company that he was in. So she's been in the industry over 25 years. You guys saw her last week. Very, very successful person.
But why we started with that, to introduce who last week's guest was, it's because this week's guest are her enrollers. And one of the things about Cynthia is that Cynthia doesn't just sign up with anybody. She was out of network marketing for 10 years.
For a reason.
So for a reason. And so I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills because somebody of Cynthia's caliber doesn't just sign up with anybody. There had to be something different. There had to be something unique, and there had to be something with proper posture in this duo here in Sarah and Chris Smith. So we really wanted to tell you guys how excited we are about what they had to do. So why don't you just...
Well, and this is one of the things that I want to really point out here. It's like, so how many of you think that Chris and Sarah just got lucky? Right? Because there might be some people out there that are like, oh my gosh, they are so lucky. They're so lucky to have Cynthia as part of their group and the whole team that she's, creating here. But no, absolutely not. Luck had nothing to do with this. It had everything to do with the decisions that they made and the things that they had to do in order to become the type of leaders that would attract someone and entice someone like Cynthia and many others that are coming into their lives and into eventually their LifeVantage organization. So I'm excited. Are you excited?
So, yes, very excited. And the only way luck applies here is the definition of luck from Zig Ziglar. And that is when preparation meets opportunity. That's the definition of luck. And just one little tidbit before we turn it over to this amazing duo. Sarah literally every single week took a train from Maine to Boston. Every week made that sacrifice, got up early, took a train, did business meetings, and that is how the relationship started. And then her amazing husband Chris will tell you. But that was the level of commitment that she had personally and Chris had, because Sarah's background is massage therapy and amazing business, and Chris's is all kinds of mountaineering and cycling and ski patrol. But that's not how they met Cynthia. So we're going to introduce Premier Pro 6 Sarah and Chris Smith. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being our guests. And just please tell us what you guys did to be able to have a bandwidth that Cynthia would come searching you guys out.
Well, and start with your personal story, please, because it's so, so powerful. So thank you, guys. We love you. We appreciate you.
Yay. Thank you. We're honored to be here. Thanks for having us on tonight. I'm going to let Chris open this up.
Well, yeah, I mean, great point, and thank you for the introduction, Dondi and Marcy. It definitely was a lot of work to shape, I think, who we've become in this business. And as John Maxwell had taught us some time ago, you can only kind of connect the dots when you're looking backwards. And it wasn't a tipping point that got Sarah in front of Cynthia and made it happen. It was about who we were growing into looking back that got each one of us in front of the right people along the path that led us to where we're at. So to start at the beginning of our story, I'm kind of very grateful for an event that happened exactly 7 years ago right now, summer of 2012. I got very, very ill, and we had a huge episode in our family with someone getting really sick and being out of work for months and months. And this literally bankrupt us.
Someone in our family. I love that.
That was me. I was pretty sick. And we had good medical insurance at the time. So if this sounds familiar to anyone out there, having solid medical insurance and still having an episode like this bankrupt you, this happened to us. And we had a little nest egg that we were operating out of to do improvements on our home. We were fixing up our home in all kinds of ways at that time. We had a retirement set up, 2 separate businesses of our own. So we had a lot of things going for us. And this was a huge upset and bottomed out. So when this came across our path, and again, looking back, if not for this disease, it wouldn't have put me in front of the right people at the right time to hear about LifeVantage. But I had a keen interest in my cellular health after dealing with that health episode, and I was pretty lit up by Protandem. But because of where we were in total, my mind was focused on getting back to my linear income, getting back to construction, and getting things firing again. That was my immediate vision to do with my health at the time. I got my health back. Let's go do this. But Sarah, she had her eye on the bigger picture. I think, at the time when we had first seen it, about that conversation we had with Jordan Keto, who I'll be forever thankful for meeting that day, around residual income. He just didn't talk to us about a product. We had a conversation around residual income that kept you in the game like a different way, right, in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when every cell in my body, I had never done network marketing before, had never really even entertained it because of the way I was presented, with many opportunities. It just never rang true for me. But there was something about the ABC Investigative News Report that said, we're doing this. I have no idea what we're doing. But, we just started showing up to events. So, in the beginning, our journey was pretty product focused. And our very first event turned us on to, oh, okay, if we have a lot of people talking about how good this is, then we're going to grow a big network of people who are painting the vision versus just the product. So we had an aha moment beyond what it would do for somebody's health, but what it could potentially do as a vehicle to change people's lives and turn them into the kind of person that could carry $1 million a month, $1 million a year residual income. And so I love personal growth and development. It is something I've always, I think in my 30s, my early 30s, no, it was my 20s. I did the Peace Corps. I went into Landmark Forum. I did meditation retreats. And frankly, there was a 10-year period of personal growth where I felt like I ate too many oranges. And I just stopped altogether, like learning about myself, because it was, I really felt like, okay, that was good. You dive deep for a little while. And I found that this industry of network marketing has taken my personal growth and development to the levels that I was seeking in my 20s and 30s, has developed me into the leader, into the person that I know I want to become to make a huge impact in the world and to really help a lot of people. So the first part of our business, I would say, was really around supporting a growing team. And there was this, the theme I want to carry through is belief. There was this lack of belief that I could actually run a really big organization, or that we could handle it, because we had never done it before. We never really understood the idea of leverage. So there was a stalling of, and many of you may know this, kind of the S quadrant thinking of, I'm just going to pull my bootstraps up, and if no one can help me, that's okay, because I've got it, right? And so we quickly learned that if we were helping a large team grow, that, Kim Jakes was my very first, one of my very first distributors. And she was, incredibly immersed into her community from a business sense, and just grew very fast. And I thought, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this, and then I'm going to grow my team. And so I just want to, that was one of the first pivotal things that I look back on, that for many of you who are getting started, who may feel in a slump, is to actually really take a look at if you're managing versus continually enrolling, and where your belief is in, around the system. I feel like the first belief we had to overcome was a belief in the industry that this was legit, and that, we're part of this pioneering group of people in an evolutionary business model that's really out there to change the world and really support the kinds of people that want to make big impacts.
Yeah. So in looking back at our story too, again, connecting the dots, I think that's another point that people would look back, as Marcy was saying, and say, oh, wow, they got really lucky. It would be phenomenal to just enroll someone like Kim Jakes. Well, Kim and Sarah had a relationship just before that. And actually what put Sarah in front of Kim was, we needed some extra income. I was down and out for like 3 months. Sarah had her own massage practice, and they met through that way of networking. And Sarah actually worked in Kim's clinic and brought this to her. But in looking back, that was no cakewalk. I think a lot of you now just see Kim Jakes Pro 7. She's a phenomenal leader. But Kim joined us when we were, pro, we were just distributors, probably not even Pro 1. And I want to give great credit to Chelsea and Lee and Elaine Fournier. Basically, that was the core of starting this market. But that was not easy, because you're looking at a family that had been recently bankrupt and then had to buy basically an entire box of pills that I only knew I needed one bottle of to go into business. And we just went for it. But that meant spending a lot of money and a lot of time driving I mean, at this point, I can look back and know thousands and thousands of miles for no-shows, groups that never fired off. I know you all hear those stories about the $30,000 meeting. Someone drove 800 miles in a snowstorm, and there was that one guy in the room, and he became a Pro 8. Well, that didn't happen. That wasn't our story. We had to push through. A lot of us as a team, not just us. I want to say this was Kim and Chelsea and Lee and Elaine and those first people that helped us grow that team that became Kim Jakes' elite organization. She's phenomenal, but there was a lot of bumps in the road in building that, looking back. So I think that was our first place of growth, is learning those initial lessons about disappointment and not being attached to results, even though you and some other team members were putting in the work. And some of those lessons were hard learned. Our growth wasn't complete after going through all that, but that was, I think, some of the first stage of getting exposure to what kind of growth you need to push forward in not just network marketing, but entrepreneurship in general.
Mm-hmm. You know, and from there, I feel like our journey was really figuring out who we were in the business and how we work together as a team. You know, I think, you know, being in the business as a couple, you're just trying to figure out where the strengths are. I remember in the beginning, I used to get very stressed about presenting, and Chris was very good with me, because I wanted everything written down, and so and know exactly what we were going to say, and he could just rip out a presentation just from nothing. So we had to work out how we were working together as a couple and who was going to step in and who was going to work. So I feel like that piece, you know, over time, we were developing as well. And honestly, we had to figure out who Sarah and Chris Smith were. I think one of the biggest things we did, and it's actually, I feel like it's a great characteristic to have, is to support people in their vision. But sometimes when you have strong leaders, and we attract a lot of strong leaders that have a lot of strong vision, we have to figure out what our own vision is and where we play out and where we need to step in and do the Sarah and Chris thing, right? So I think a big piece of this shift in really attracting the leadership that resonated with us and that was really exceptional was recognizing that where our strengths were launching new markets, because I had launched several massage therapy practices in multiple states. And what that meant was, like Dottie had mentioned before, was deciding, one, to really track my numbers. I was put out on a task to do 75 business presentations within a 90-day period, and I actually did that. And so that whirlwind, and that was through building in depth. I was in search of, what am I missing? Who am I in this field of network marketing? And at the time, you know, the social media behind a screen was not what was putting people in our organization. It was the magic in the room. And so that's why I said, if we're going to launch a market, I have to see it, I have to feel it, I have to taste it, I got to get in there, and every day is going to be a win. And we decided together that no matter what, I was going to get on a train every Thursday and go to Boston, and we were going to build through LinkedIn. I was going to meet people face to face. We were going to show up to networking events, and I was going to go down in the morning and come back at night. Well, what did that mean? That meant, because we only had one car, we decided we would literally take Rose, set up a sleeping bag in the back, roll her into the car to do an 11 o'clock pickup, roll her back into bed when we got home. And, you know, she's very adaptable, I must say. But that's the kind of sacrifice that we made. We just said, you know what, we've got to do this. And I'm not kidding, every single trip put us in front of somebody that led us to the next stop. And it put me in the mindset of, I can't do this on my own. I can't do one-to-ones, just me. I need a group of people. So it spawned into, I need to be in front of a sales force or a group of people that know what I'm doing in Boston in numbers, not just one person at a time, because taking somebody from a cold market relationship into a type of relationship where they know you, like you, trust you, you're in that trust phase, takes some time. But if they see you once a month or once a week, you know, that speeds the process up. And when, you know, I know that actually, you know, being a servant leader to somebody else, making it about other people 100% is the way that that I want to move through the world as a connector. But how I was doing it in the beginning, I was looking for the nugget that Cynthia had. I was moving too fast in my cold market. I was moving way too fast into the business of like, hey, do you know anybody who'd be interested in, pioneering a breakthrough technology that's working all naturally on the genetic level? We're expanding our networks. That was kind of my go-to. But if people didn't know me, there wasn't any weight to what I said. And they're like, well, who is she? Right? So it was about figuring out ways to develop relationships quickly in a cold market setting. And I was invited to attend a BNI meeting, Business Networking International. The Business Networking International, it's a hefty membership fee for those of you that, so there was another investment there. Chris and I have turned over pretty much everything we've made and put it back into the business, knowing 100% that it's going to pay back, in spades. So I'm glad we're on the same page, because I was like, yeah, we're doing it. We weren't even sure how it was going to happen, but we did it. We manifested it every single time. We had enough. We had enough for the bills, and we had enough to get to the next event, and we had enough to be investing in the ways we were. So I love looking back at our statements that show exactly what we were spending and where that money was going. It was very profound. You want to jump in?
Well, just in working in that market, that journey that Sarah was talking about, when we committed to go to Boston and jumped on the train, that just wasn't for a couple months. That was 2.5 years. And I'll tell you what happened in that 2.5 years. A lot of ups and downs, but a lot of people on the team can remember this. We built that with distributors. People did enroll. Those people are no longer, they're not on Cynthia's team. They didn't lead us directly to Cynthia. But we built that to a point with a lot of cross-line people here in New England that will remember this, to renting out boardrooms at the district hall where Don D came out and did presentations, and where Sandra came out from corporate with someone else and helped us do presentations. We had Sarah and Dan present to probably, we put 80 people in a room in the district hall in downtown Boston at one point. And after all that time and all that investment in building a team that big within our group and Crossline, that entirely fizzled. None of that got us directly to where we are now in that market. So that was one of the huge face plants on that journey that I will say, hey, if you have a story and you say something like that stopped you in business, I would say, yeah, man, that would probably stop me too. But for whatever reason at the time, it didn't. I think we were growing. And again, that belief just got stronger. And we had that faith, that willing to believe something that we couldn't see yet, but we knew it was there, basically, and just kept going. So a lot of people pulled out, basically, I think, after that momentum we had built in Boston. And it took some time. A lot of people were involved for a year with us doing that work. But we kept going. It kept leading from one person to another, the right person. And as we got closer and closer, it felt more right. It felt like a sign on the road, didn't it? To be like, hey, this person just dropped this other guy's name.
It was very,
we need to see that person next.
Yeah, it was very synchronistic. It was very divine. It was like a divine unfolding. Like people are put in front of you every day. And that was the experience there. Like it was never a bad day heading down there. And I'll never forget when I was invited to attend the training that Cynthia put on. It was a 3-hour, The Art and Science of Breakthrough Networking. I knew, again, with every cell in my body that if I had tools to actually create relationships in a much better way, that people could hear me and that I could be the person that I'd want to be as a connector, that I could, be part of this third wave sort of movement of elevating people in a way that you're really just, you're helping people 100% of the time. After attending her seminar, I was like, wow, everything began to change. It was the missing link of sitting down, getting to know people and what their passions were, what their accomplishments were, what their endeavors were. And by just using the acronym of PACE, PACE, you sit down, if you don't know somebody, and say, look, I'm working with the social capital coach, or a friend of mine is working with the social capital coach, And this is a really great way to see if we could even be referral partners in the future, so let's do this. Let's take 10 minutes and run through this. And so when you're talking about, passions, accomplishments, communities, and endeavors, you really get to talk about your why. And I found that when I was talking about my endeavors and leaving a legacy for my daughter and talking about the big picture, I just lit up. And they're like, what do you do? So I was having so much success right out of the gate. I called Cynthia up and I said, hey, I have the president of BNI. I've got all these people wanting to sign up to be a distributor in this BNI chapter. What would you do? How would you place them? This is new territory for me. And so we developed a friendship where when she started to speak, everything she said was around the structure. It's like everything I was doing, but there was a structure tied to it that I had never experienced before. And I was like, wow. So I jumped on board to be a catalyst for one of her online study groups where it was taking her work and kind of looking at it from a study group aspect. And I was putting people in front of her. So I was not actually prospecting her. I was actually really excited about her work and what she was doing. And I think who I was being in the moment with her, because we resonated and what she was doing resonated so much with me that I wanted to help her, in this volunteer way, elevate her work and get it out there. She started leaning in. So this is really about the art of having people lean in. And so as I was putting people in front of her for her breakthrough networking work, she got very fascinated with the culture of LifeVantage. And she said, I don't know what you're doing, but I just love the people you're putting me in front of. They're amazing. They just have such a good vibe. So who I was being was not about prospecting her. Who I was being was all about the excitement about what she was bringing to the world and the impact she was having. So I feel like one of the biggest lessons is it's not actually doing the business of network marketing that gets us excited. It's about who are we supporting in their impact that they're making in the world. And it's like, how are you contributing in all these other ways? What do you have going on outside of LifeVantage that's firing you up, that's getting your passion really rolling? And I think that's what we need to remember, because yes, we can roll through the numbers, we can do all these things, but you can identify what your passion is and go with that. You're going to attract the caliber of people that we've been attracting because we're doing something other outside of, even though we're excited about being the pioneering force, behind a breakthrough like, nutrigenomics and biohacking and all the great things that are coming from LifeVantage. I noticed that how I'm contributing to people outside of LifeVantage is directly creating a funnel for our business. And that is really truly how we attracted Cynthia. It was really developing the relationships, and then how do we make an impact in the world, and how are we contributing outside of our LifeVantage business?
Yeah, that's basically
wow.
Landed here.
I want to share something real quick about that, Cynthia.
Yes,
Sarah, and that's what Cynthia told us when we met about how you didn't recruit her. You were not trying to recruit her. She was talking about deposits and withdrawals. She said you just kept depositing and depositing and depositing into her. And as a result, she felt when you went through that know, like, and trust, she trusted you. She wanted to deposit back into you. And as you started sharing with her your passions, and she was seeing it everywhere, she's like, oh my gosh, I want to be involved in that. But it's amazing how when you make because it's a common sense thing. It works in banks. It works in real life. You cannot make a withdrawal until you've made previous deposits. And it was just listening to her say that. It was so simple, so common sense. But to now see where you're at and where your relationship with Cynthia is and how you guys have just grown with this magical thing you're growing together. It started with you caring about her and depositing her and not recruiting her. That's the coolest thing. You recruited by not trying to recruit, just by being a decent human being and caring about what she's doing, getting involved in her life. And then the favor comes back and it'll come back tenfold. So thank you for that. That's just a principle. It's a human principle. And I love it. Thank you for sharing that.
And I think if we're recruiting up, if we're, going for the people who who may be on our chicken list or would be considered on a scale of 1 to 10, if we consider ourselves like a 7, room to grow, but doing pretty well. If we're recruiting 8s and 9s of, in our, when we're growing a team, I just think it's really important to know that they'll listen, they're going to take the time to listen, and you asking for them to look at your opportunity before you make deposits, they're not gonna, it's gonna push them away. So just remember that it's a withdrawal to actually share the opportunity, even though you feel like it might be a deposit because you might see their need for it. Just slow everything down just a little bit so that there's the relationship piece that comes first. And then, say, I'd love to have your eyes on this, when do you have 15 minutes? This is, you might have somebody in your sphere or whoever that might be interested. So that's something I've learned and had to practice, because I think I burned through a lot of people too quickly by sharing the opportunity too quickly before the relationship was at the place where they could actually hear and want to help me, which, contributed to the Pro 5, the long Pro 5, journey.
Absolutely. But the rapid Pro 6 and then upward trajectory you're on now.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's amazing.
So, guys, in all of this, you making all of those deposits into her at the same time, you were becoming who you needed to be, because all of that growth that you needed to go through by attending her events and by learning about her network marketing or networking strategies. It wasn't network marketing strategies, but networking strategies was actually putting you into the framework to where you could start speaking the same language. Because this is something that I have been observing with both of you, is this has been a complete, change from Chris and Sarah Smith in the beginning to Chris and Sarah Smith now.
Right.
You guys have totally changed your language. And so now you are so equipped in order to be able to talk with those people that are on the right side of the quadrant that Cynthia taught about last week, right? And so it's all also about recognizing the need to go through each step of the way so that you can learn and become who you need to be for what you're talking about, right? For the people that you're bringing to this. I'm so excited. Do you have anything else you want to add there? Because I have an announcement.
Go ahead.
Okay, guys. So this just in. LifeVantage just posted. They have extended the $99 registration for Long Beach until August 31st.
Oh, wow.
What?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was the first time when I read it, I thought it said July, but it says August, guys. So
Yeah.
what would you guys say to someone that has not pre-registered yet for Long Beach to just, because it's important. We have to promote from event to event to event. That's what we do, right? So what would you guys, Chris and Sarah Smith, share with your team and with basically the world on getting pre-registered?
Okay. Well, first of all, money, something like money, I know it seems like a barrier, but we've got dozens of more stories over those years. We just shared a few with you where money just wasn't a barrier. Again, recently bankrupt, network marketing was dropped in our laps. We came up with the money for 2 platinum packs at the time. We just did it. It wasn't even actually a thought. It's just like we had to do it. So that shouldn't be a barrier. You should go for dozens and dozens of reasons, but that's where the good times are going to come. And again, don't be afraid to do a face plant. Those are opportunities, and that's what we've learned along the way. Those things, I used to look at them in a much different way, but falling flat and failing, that's an opportunity for growth and self-development. So don't miss those opportunities. But I will say this, our first event, we go there, we have no team. So if you're that person, that was us too. We just don't pop out of eggs as Pro 6s, but it seemed like that to me when I got in the company. I'm like, oh, these Pro 7s, they just popped out of eggs somewhere. But we show up with no team. There's probably 30 people in all there from Team New England. We hardly know these guys. Every one of them is a complete stranger to us. So Sarah and I are in San Antonio. Fire alarm goes off in the hotel. We're like, don't get in the elevators. hotel fire. You know, I'm a total country boy, right? So we go running down the back stairwell and we go out into this alley and the door goes boom, slams behind us. There's no handle on it or, you know, I'm out in my like PJs in the alleyway and it was like 35 degrees in San Antonio. We find our way around to the front of the hotel. We're like, don't go in. It's a fire. The fire department's going to be there any minute. And then I hear this music pumping from inside. There's a strobe light. I look inside. I'm like, I think people are dancing in the lobby. We go in. There's no fire alarm. John Murphy's standing there going, hey, it's the Smiths, the new guys. Yeah, it was,
pajamas.
the fire alarm went off like 3 or 4 more times that night, only on our floor. There was like one other couple that went running out of the hotel room, but it's not all gloom and doom on your journey to Pro 6 or wherever. There's a lot of good times. We could have talked about those all night too.
Oh goodness.
And I'll just wrap up with events. It's so funny you brought that story up. I haven't heard that in a while. But the key thing for you to register is that it's not about you. It is just not about you. It's about creating the culture and the future of what you want your team to be doing and the kinds of people you want to attract. So there's that whole thought of like being who you want to be before the moment comes. Or, you know, if you want to be a Pro 10, what does a Pro 10 feel like? What do they do? What's their day like? What's the energy? What's the vibe? Well, I can tell you what, a Pro 10 pre-registers and buys their ticket before anybody else. And they show up to every event. So this is what attracts the people like Cynthia. This is what attracts you. It's just about team. You have to get out of the I and into the we. And then it's just about generating something that's coming that you can't see yet. So that is my event plug.
So
perfect.
Good.
Yeah.
Not to mention that waiting costs you more money, right?
Yep.
So if you know you're going to build this business, make the commitments necessary and then figure it out, right? Say yes and then do whatever you have to do to figure it out, because we get paid upfront money, right? We get paid leveraged income. That money needs to go back into your business, and some of that going back into your business is the investment of pre-registering for Elite Academies and all the events. So you guys are so amazing. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having us.
Oh gosh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being the amazing leaders that you are, and giving other people permission to follow in your footsteps, especially married couples. That's one of the things that I've seen in this industry, that there's most of the time in a couple, there's the one that is building and the one that is supporting, or the one that is trying to build with an unsupportive spouse. And those are unfortunately not where you guys are at. Thank you for being fortunately, yeah, it's where that you guys are just so cohesive. You work great together, and you're wonderful team leaders, and you have incredible skills. So thank you for constantly evolving and keeping us entertained as well. You guys are the best storytellers.
Yes. So Team Freedom Reigns, this is a perfect example that there are ups, there are downs, and then there are ups again. You just have to continue on the process to the progress, right?
Yep.
And part of that is inviting. So guys, you have just under 24 hours now to be able to invite to the live opportunity overview tomorrow night. Information will be on Team Freedom Reigns Facebook page as well as in your emails. So invite.
Yep.
Let's do this thing. We've got a couple more days left in July, and then let's hit August running hard.
Absolutely.
Ready?
Yes. And please tell future Team USA yachting champion Rose we said hello.
Yes.
Well.
All right, guys. Have a great night. Thank you, team.
Good night, guys.
We'll see you later.
Bye.